Hey crew, and welcome back. Sound is such an important part of the immersion of games. Today I want to cover a requested topic. There's a few steps to get the system set up, but once you do, it's very easy to expand upon and you can add it to all sorts of surfaces within your game. So let's get started. So to start with, I just have the third person template here. I've expanded the floor for more activities. I moved up the player start, and then here I have added just some flat planes here, and I've added material that I got from FAB, and we'll go over that here in a minute. So right now, if I start the game and I run on these, you'll notice there's no sound. While everything looks okay, we just don't have the immersion that we're wanting for our game. So let's get some of this set up. Obviously, the first thing we're going to need is sound. So if you go out to freesound.org, I have already found and downloaded some sounds. And to go over this right here, to download from freesound.org, you have to have an account and be logged in. And then depending upon the sound that you pick, there could be a attribution piece on the license. So make sure to watch that before you use it in a commercial game. That being said, the ones I found today, several of them are from this author of NUF3. I found the Steps Dirt 3A. Let's see if I can. And then Dirt 2B. And what I wanted to do is just grab a couple of these so we can randomize the sound a little bit. I mean, we can add some pitch variation to it also, but having the different sound files to start with, these are pretty small, so it's not going to affect your game. Also found some tile footsteps here. And then from Alley 6868, we have this gravel footstep. So this is what I'm going to do today. I mean, you can go out, you can, depending upon your game, you can search for footsteps on hardwood, footsteps in water. There's lots of ways to expand this system. So I pulled these into Unreal already. I created an audio folder under content. And then footsteps, I've renamed these a little bit and brought all these in. So first thing you want to do is create some sound cues for this. So I'm going to create one sound cue for each surface type that I have. You come up here to audio, go down to sound cue, and I'm going to name this SC Dirt. I'll go ahead and set up this first one, and then it's just kind of rinse and repeat for the next two. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. I'm going to dock this to the main window. I'm going to open the content drawer. I'm going to find my dirt. So there's gravel. Here's the dirt footsteps. I'm just going to drag those in. I'm going to find a random node. I'm going to go ahead and hook these up. Then for a little bit of additional variation, let's add a modulator to this. And we'll just connect those pins. If you click on modulator, you can have or go over to the settings over here. I mean, this is a decent modulation. If you really want to push it, you can do 0.5 to just over 1. And we can hear a little bit playing in there. If you want to get real extreme just to hear the difference. There's quite a bit of range in there. So for me, I think I'm going to stick to the default value. I might leave this down at 0.5. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And really for this one, what you can do is I'm just going to hit Control D, duplicate this, and let's call this gravel. I'm going to open this one. I'm going to delete those two sounds. I'm going to go get my gravel sounds, pull them in, and just hook them up. And there you go. This one's done. So you can do a lot with sound cues. This is kind of a really basic setup, but it fits the purpose of this video. So let's go ahead and save that one, and let's create one more. Just going to duplicate that. I'm going to call this one tile. Apologize for the loud keyboard. And grab our tile. And hook these up. test this. All right, there we go. Now for the materials. As I said before, I pulled down these materials from FABs, and here are the names here of what I grabbed, and you can see they're just texture files that I pulled down. So I created a materials folder, and I just did a quick throw together of those. Yes, I know this is not beautiful, but bear with me, don't judge. So on this, what we're going to want to do is I'm going to go ahead and dock this to the main window. So you can sort these into another folder if you want to. I'm just going to leave these next to the materials now for the purpose of this video. We need to make a physical material. So what we need to do is right click, and this is not under materials, is under physics. That throws off a lot of people sometimes. So if we go to physical material, and we're going to choose physical material, I'm just going to call this PM Dirt. And I'm going to Control D that one. I'm going to create my gravel, and then you guessed it, we're going to create a tile. So then what we're going to do is open each of the materials. And under the first one, I'm going to highlight PM Dirt. I'm going to scroll, I'm going to click on the output node here. I'm going to scroll all the way down on the left side. And under physics material, I'm going to choose the PM Dirt. I'm going to go ahead, file and save. And then there you go. That material is done. You don't really need to do anything else if you're good with the default settings. If you want to, if you really want to dig into what these physical materials do and deal with, set some friction, you know, stuff like that. So if you've got more of a wet or an ice material and you want your character to kind of slip and slide, you can set some of this here so it only works for that material. So it's just something to keep in mind. You can get really detailed with some of this stuff, and it's not a big change. So let's go to gravel, scroll down, output node, scroll down on the left. And now we're going to choose our gravel material that we made. Same thing with tile. Okay, there we go. Now our materials are done. So right now, if you play the game, nothing's going to change. There's still several more things we need to set up. So I'm going to go ahead and close those materials. You know, obviously we need to know what's going on with the characters. So we're going to set up a trace on the character to trace where the footsteps are and what they're coming in contact with. I do recommend setting up a custom trace channel for that. And then we also need to set up our surface types. So let's go into project settings. One more note on these. So like I said before, I've added this just to a flat plane. You're going to want to come over here to collision, or any object that you're working with. You want to come down to the collision presets. And the important part on this one is that the collision enabled is set to query and physics. That way we hit both situations as your character is moving around. If you do not see these options here, if you're under default, it will hide all of those from you. I believe about any other option here, it will show everything else. So if you want to, you can come into custom and then just double check that. But by default, it should be turned on. But just a note in case you're importing third-party assets, that sort of thing. Now when we get to the character, we need to set up some foot traces to make sure we understand what's going on with the character's feet and where they're placed. So let's go down to, or let's go up to Edit, Project Settings, and then we're going to just search for Trace Channel, and it's going to come up underneath of Engine Collision. Make sure you're in this section. We're going to have a new trace channel. I'm just going to call mine Footstep. And then anytime you add a new collision channel for anything in your game, if it's footsteps or anything else, the default response, if you already have a lot of stuff set up, most of the time it's going to make sense that you want the default response to be ignore. And then for the items that you want to react to this trace channel, you can then go turn it on per item. This way you don't mess up a lot of other stuff existing in your game. So we're going to set that to ignore. So while we're in here, the other thing we need to do so we can finish our physical materials is set the surface type. So we want to go into, once again, in project settings, let's go down to physics. And if you scroll down, you're going to find a section here for physical surfaces. And you're going to see there's several slots already set up by default in Unreal Engine. So we just take the next few here and we just type in the types of surfaces that we want. And as you can see, there's quite a few in here. It looks like 62 is what you can have. So we're going to come in and call this one dirt. Spelled correctly, even. We'll then call this one gravel. And the next one tile. So we're done in project settings. Now we have our surface types and our trace channel set up. So let's go back to our physical materials. Go ahead and open this up. And then down here underneath property surface type, you're going to see the surface types we just set up in the project settings. So I'm going to go ahead and assign dirt to this one, rinse and repeat for the other two. Gravel and tile. Okay, now that those items are set up, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to create myself a blueprint folder. Okay, first thing we're going to create is a blueprint interface. So let's go up to blueprints, down to blueprint interface. I'm going to call this BPI Footstep. Go ahead and open that up. And this function in here, I'm going to say play footstep sound. And we can compile and save that and close it. We're done. Back in our blueprint folder, the other thing we're going to need is a custom AnimNotify event. So I'm going to go ahead and right click, go to blueprint, sorry. Under all classes, we want to search for AnimNotify. Select, I'm going to call this AN play footstep. And you can vary these names a little bit if you want to, if you have a convention that works better for you. For me, I just try to keep everything involved in the same function, very similar in its naming. So inside of the AnimNotify, I'm going to go ahead and open that up. You're going to see this one looks a little different, but what we can do is come up to functions, and what we want to do is override the receive notify. This is pretty straightforward. What we want to do is we want to get the mesh component. And then from there, we want to get owner. And from that owner, we want to play footstep sound message. So this is the function that we just created on our blueprint interface. We want to make sure that says message, and you see this little envelope here. We'll just go ahead and hook that up. Make this a little neater. We can go ahead and compile and save. So let's go ahead and open up our character. For this one, I am using the default third-person character. So I'm going to come down to third-person folder, blueprints, open up third-person character. We're going to go down to the bottom here where we have some space. We're going to go to class settings. We're going to add our BPI footstep interface that we created. Double click that function to implement it. So here what we want to do is let's set up the line trace. So let's grab a line trace by channel. As you know, here just a little bit ago we set up our own footsteps trace channel. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And for the starting point on this, I mean, you can do this a couple different ways. If you do the default mesh of the character, you're going to find that the line starts somewhere around the head on this. So for me, since I'm dealing with the feet, I would just want to trace from the feet. I don't want to risk the chance of colliding with other things. Now let's set up the start and end locations. Let's grab our mesh. And what we want to do here is I want to get socket location. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to choose one of the feet. If you want to get fancy and go back and forth between left foot and right foot, you can do that. But for me, I'm just going to do foot_R. Now this has to be typed the same as what is in the skeleton for the character that you're using. Same capitalization and everything. And we're going to use that for the start value. Go ahead and back these two up. Because then what we're going to do is I'm going to subtract. I'm going to go down, say, negative 100 on the Z for the endpoint on this. That way we start at the foot location and then we drop down. So you can vary this. Negative 50 is probably fine. I just want to make sure we're hitting everything. Depending upon your character, what you're doing, the height, stuff like that, you may need to vary that a little bit. And you can turn on draw debug just so you can see those interactions and get it ironed out with your character. Let's go ahead and compile and save. So from the line trace, let's make sure we hit something. Now right here, if you did not hit anything with your foot that is on this footstep trace channel, this is going to be your default action. So if you come across a material where you don't have your physical material or surface type set up, you can use this route to play a different sound, a line message, or just let it be silent if you wish. So I am going to pull out the hit channel. We're going to break these results. From true, what I want to do is I want to pull up a switch on, it's called physical surface. When these are the list of, what was it, 62 or 64 surface types in there. We filled out the first 3. That is what that enum was called. So I'm going to pull that up. And then from here, if we did interact with something, we want to get the physical material. And then from there, we want to get surface type and then plug that into here. So before we do that, if you do drop down, you're going to see it only returns the custom channels that we set up. So on this, we want to return that type from here. Go ahead and collapse that. And then from here, once again, if you do hit something with the physical material, but it isn't one of these, this could be a default footstep sound that you want to do, that sort of thing. The route I was talking about over here is you did not hit something on the footstep trace channel. This is, you did hit something on the footstep trace channel, but it's not one of these 3. So hope that made sense. If it didn't, leave me a note down in the comments. I'll try to clear it up for you. So on this one now, what we're going to do is I want to come out and we're going to play sound at location. So on this particular one, we want our dirt. So let's find the sound cue for dirt right there. And then for the location, I want to do the same thing I did before. So I want to get the socket location of the foot. Now for this particular one, for the sound location, it's close enough. I'm not going to worry about playing it exactly at ground level compared to, since I'm only tracing the right foot. So if the left foot is down and the right foot is up, I'm not going to worry about that variation for this tutorial. If you have a need for that in your game, you can totally do that. So I'm going to hook that up to the location. So we play the sound at the location of the right foot. So let's go ahead and move this down here a little bit. And then honestly, what you can do is Control D this 2 more times. We're going to hook up the same location on these. And then we will hook up gravel and then make sure to change this drop down to your sound cue for gravel. And then for tile, let's go ahead and hit the drop down and do our sound cue tile. And for the character, I believe that is it. So I'm going to go ahead and compile and save that. So now let's tie it all together. So all of this setup, let's finally see if we can get it to work. So for Quinn, for this, I'm using the default 3rd-person character, which happens to be Quinn. Quinn shares her animations with Manny. If you're not sure where that is located, click on the root of the character blueprint. If you go down to, or excuse me, right here at the top, you're going to find the animation blueprint. You can hit this folder icon, see where that's at. If you open this, you'll see the note I just talked about, that this is a child of ABP Manny. So what we want to do is go ahead and open ABP Manny. I'm not going to go over the complete setup of these animation blueprints, but you'll notice down here in the bottom, there is a full list of available blueprints for these characters. If you go to the anim graph, you go up to, if you're not sure which ones they're using, if you go up to locomotion, walk run, you're going to find that this is using a blend space called BSMM walk run. This happens to be the first one in my list down here on the bottom right. So I'm going to go ahead and open that. And this is a lot of steps, so I'm just showing you guys how to find these different things if you're unfamiliar with the particular character. So on this, you'll notice in this blend space, we have a couple different animations going on. In blend spaces, if you hold down Control, you can move this X and it will change the speed variable for you. So if we come up here, we're walking and then we're up to a run. So on this one, if you hover over this, you're going to see this is MM walk forward. And this one happens to be MM run forward. Let's remember those two names. So MM walk forward, let's come over here on the right. Find MM walk forward, open that up. And you're going to see right here, there are some, in this particular animation, there are some default notifications set up. I'm going to go ahead and add my own track. So I'm going to add notify track. On this, I'm going to call it Footstep. And then what you can do is, let's go ahead and stop this so it's not so distracting. So what you can do is on that track, just underneath of where those are at, because you'll find Unreal has been nice enough to set these up so you know right when that hits. Same with the other foot. So we can just follow those indicators on our own track. So right here, I'm going to right click, I'm going to add notify, and I'm going to come down here to the bottom and find this and play Footstep custom notify that we did. Now you'll see that these are pretty close, probably close enough for me on this one. If you want to drag them around, you can. The other thing you can do is if you hover over this, you're going to see in that pop-up that this particular one is at 0.417 seconds. So I want to go ahead and click on ours, and you notice we're at 409. So if you really want to dial these in, what you can do is right click your notify. And like I said, this one's at 0.417. So let's right click that. And you can change this time to 417. And you'll notice now that they are completely lined up with one another. So what I'm going to do is click on that again. I'm going to copy, I'm going to paste. And for these, I'm not going to set every single one. I'm just going to kind of get them close. If you want to spend the time dialing those in, go for it. And where that time set trick comes in handy is on this last one, especially if you have a longer named one like this, you'll find that this is just kind of a bear to line up sometimes. So 2.716. There we go. Make sure to save on this one. And then the other one we wanted was MM run forward. So same thing. I'm going to add a notify track. I'm going to call this Footstep. And if you still have your notified copied, you can control paste in here and just keep going to make this a pretty quick process. These notifies are pretty basic, so you can get away with doing this type of thing. Once again, give me a moment while I set these up. Okay, let's save this one. Now let's test. So one more thing we need to set before we test is on our planes. If you remember, we set up our own trace channel that we're going to use for the footsteps. So all of these planes, and you can do this in bulk if you want to, or however yours is set up. So I'm going to highlight all of those. I'm going to come to collision. I'm going to change this to custom. And in this list, you're going to see our Footstep channel. You're going to see it's defaulted to ignore. That way we're not interfering with anything else in the game. I'm going to change this for these particular highlighted objects. I'm going to change this to black. And I'm going to double check just to make sure that collision enabled is query and physics. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. So if we try to test the game right now, I think we're going to find that nothing happens. And that is on me. So let me explain. I got so excited to tell you guys about how to set up this system that I missed a couple things. Just be honest, this is game dev, folks. It happens. So this would be a good opportunity to show how to debug a system like this. So if I'm running, you'll notice the line traces are going the wrong direction. So for my character, I put in -100 when this should actually be 100. So we go the correct direction. And this is going to vary a little bit depending upon how your individual character is set up. So now if we move, we'll notice the line traces go the correct direction. And when we step on that we do have contact. So the other thing I missed earlier, and the reason mine is making sound right now, yours isn't. I did this off camera. I apologize. Two things. One, we have this mesh component here. This is just housekeeping. This will not change what's going on. If you want, the mesh component is passed in with this function. So just for housekeeping and readability, you can go ahead and change that. And then the other thing I forgot is while I showed you on the blend space how to find those particular animations, let's open that back up. There are 3 of them in here. If I move that cursor, you'll notice there's an walk in place. This one is shared between Manny and Quinn. I did forget that there is an override for Quinn that uses the MF run forward and MF walk forward. So what I did is I came back in here and I grabbed the walk in place. And you'll see I added the notifies to that. Then from there, I grabbed the MF run, added those, and the MF walk. This is exact same process as what we did with the other one. I just forgot. I apologize for that. But these are the types of things that you will come across, especially using other assets that other people created. So now with those AnimNotifys in place, on the walk in place, MF, walk forward, and MF, run forward. Now if we come back here, come to our 3rd person map, let's go ahead and test. So you'll see now that even though I'm coming into contact with the default material, nothing is happening, no errors are thrown, we just don't have a surface type. But if I do click on these for dirt, gravel, and then tile, you'll find that those do switch up and play. And you can hear the different variations with our pitch modulation. So there we go. Now we have a dynamic footstep system, and from here it is very easy to add on another type. So if you wanted to go grab hardwood, download those, all you would have to do is come back to your audio folder, copy one of these, bring in your hardwood. You'll have to go back to project settings and set up the hardwood surface type. And then once you have that, just come into your character, refresh this node right here, and then you should see your hardwood type show up, and then you can just add one more of these, and then set your physical material on your new hardwood material, and there you go. I apologize for the mistake in this video, but you do see that you can walk through and recover these things, and it is very good for you guys to learn how to debug some of these different systems on your own too while you're doing this. So if you found this helpful, give me a like and subscribe if you would. I'm trying really hard to grow the channel. If there's a particular type of tutorial you're looking for or something I can help you with, leave me a comment below. Hey crew, Clayton here. I've created for you a 3-day plan to help you build and finish your game without burning out. I know as a solo dev, I have a lot of different hats I have to wear to try and move everything forward between the YouTube channel, the game, social media, everything. So if you want to head over to Solo Dev Accelerator, and I will leave the link in the description, you can get your free copy of this PDF by signing up for my newsletter. Absolutely free. I won't spam you. I just do send out the occasional newsletter to let you know what's going on with the studio. Hey crew, Clayton here. The website and the Steam page is up for my upcoming game, Part of Him Remains. So if you could run out and check this out and wishlist this, I'd appreciate it. If you really want to support the channel, head on over to Patreon and check out the Boat in a Bottle Studios page. We have several tiers available to help keep me going and to try and keep my YouTube channel sponsor free. With some of the paid tiers, you will get monthly drops of game dev assets, starter packs, those sort of things, along with my newsletter and behind the scene blogs. If there's anything particular that you guys would want to see as far as a tutorial or a particular game dev asset, I will be working with my Patreon members in creating those for the monthly drops. Any questions? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you.